Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are here from the Ulm Flow series, and I'm Elisabetta Risi. I'm teacher and researcher in our university. I'd like to thank the International Affairs Office for inviting me as moderator in this talk, Women and Business, the Digital Evolution. There are relevant keywords in this title. First of all, women. We'll talk about female entrepreneurship in Italy and abroad, and we'll discuss with Cecilia Cerdeo, a woman and an entrepreneur. But we'll talk also about a digital evolution. The concept of digital revolution was very widespread in public opinion and media agenda 20 years ago, used to highlight the transition from an analogical world and a way of communication to a new digital context. We use the words such as computer-mediated communication or the net metaphor. Today, we live in a digitally saturated world where the mobile devices are as an extension of our hands. I've coordinated a permanent observatory here in Ulm University of the use of social media by Italian companies, both large and small medium enterprise company. In my research activities, main results suggest a slow transition from the traditional media to digital tools and environment of communication. In that way, there wasn't a digital revolution in terms of digital transformation of the company, but a slow and steady evolution. In 2020, there was a breakpoint of this trend, and the turning point has been the COVID crisis that inevitably accelerated and exacerbated the digitalization of all activities, both in daily life and in the labor context. There was an internet meme that went viral on LinkedIn a few months ago. It was partially true, as it said, who led the digital transformation of your company? CEO, CDO, CIO? No, COVID-19. So after this premise, I'm very happy to introduce Cecilia, a founder of this academy. Today, she's presenting her successful path of a young entrepreneur, and her case history is very interesting, in particular in the context of forced digitalization of several labor activities. I have some questions for Cecilia. And at the end of this talk, we can also read questions and comments of our web audience. First of all, I admit that I'm often curious and I wonder about the future of our graduate students who took a master's degree specifically in digital subjects. And Cecilia is an example of graduated from university. So, I would ask you to tell us your experience, which degree you attend, what were your dreams and plans, and how were your path abroad after graduation. In other words, where are you from and where are you now?
All right. Well, thank you, Elisabetta, for this introduction. And thank you, everyone who's tuning in tonight or today, depending on where are you right now. So, yeah, I was a student at Ulm several years ago. Now it's been a while, to be honest, a long while. It feels like yesterday, but it's not. Trust me. And I attended the Master in Communication for International Relations, which was an extraordinary experience for me because it was actually in a way where everything else started for me, professionally speaking. because once the master was over, first of all, I had no plans and no dreams. And I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, overly dramatic, but I always stress this because it's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you have to have it all figured out. And at a certain age, and this age is becoming like younger and younger, especially through the digital evolution, it feels like you have to figure out what you want to do right away. But it wasn't the case for me. So after the master degree at Ulm, I went for my internship in London. I fell in love with the city. And after this internship, I tried to find a way to stick around because I really wanted to stay there. And I bumped into this online, it was an online news publisher, a British online news publisher, who was trying to open a new branch in Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur to be exact. And they were looking for young people willing to just pack their things and go with, no questions asked. And I immediately said yes. I wanted to travel. I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. I wanted to figure out what were my dreams and what I could do with my talents. I actually wanted to figure out what my talent was, because up until that point, I had learned a lot, but it was all on paper. And I had no experience whatsoever. I needed to get my hands dirty. So I flew to Kuala Lumpur, and long story short, I lived there for almost 7 years. The first experience that I had wasn't super exciting. I was working for this online news publisher, and it wasn't. It's not that it wasn't exciting because it wasn't a great job. It was a great opportunity, but I wasn't trained for it. So I was supposed to sell online media spaces to companies. And at that time, we're talking about, I think, more than 10 years ago, the online revolution hadn't really started properly for a lot of companies. So they didn't even know what an online advertisement space was. So I had to cold phone, cold sell companies that I never met before, that I didn't even know nothing about, every morning. So I would be provided with a long list of names that I had to call every morning. And within 6 months experience, I only landed one deal. And that was the most frustrating experience of my life, and made me promise to myself that I would never work online ever again, and that the online world wasn't part of my destiny. But of course, life has always different plans for you. So, and that happened for me too. Because after that experience, I landed a job in an online publisher. It wasn't a news publisher; it was an online publisher of online courses and online education. And I started as a customer support agent, so I had no experience whatsoever. So I had to start from the bottom, and I worked my way up. So over the years, I became a traffic acquisition specialist. I studied a lot, trying to fill the gaps of this company, tried to see how I could fill them with what I knew. And eventually, I became partner of this company. So I co-founded their Italian branch, and I ran it as a CEO until last year. So I would say I started as an employee, then I became an entrepreneur, which is an entrepreneur who is connected, I guess, to a bigger mommy who you can refer to. And then I recently fully stepped into my entrepreneurial inclinations, I would say, because I always had them. And I started devoting all of my time, or most of my time, to Beats Academy, which is this Italian online platform for womenpreneurs who want to grow their business, but they are just tired and fed up of feeling lonely and confused while they actually do it.
Okay, thank you. Many thanks for
I hope it wasn't too long.
Sorry.
I tried to sum it up.
Okay. Can you detail what were the steps to become an entrepreneur as a woman? And how was the idea of Beats Academy born?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. So they say entrepreneurship is about creating something new. I don't know who said that, but I deeply resonate with it. Either you create something new or you improve something that's out there. And the way I felt while I was trying to figure my way out around this entrepreneurship world was that besides the fact that I was a woman and I started in a very male-dominated industry. It was SEO related, so search engine optimization. So that's where all started. I started with a blog. I started blogging literally. At that time, social media wasn't really a big deal. You could use Facebook and stuff, but it wasn't like so mainstream like it is right now. But blogging was. So I started blogging about everything that I was doing for this company in the field of SEO, of search engine optimization. So it was a very technical industry, and it was male oriented. So, but besides the fact that I was a female, I was literally lost. I had the only support that I had, which was a great support, but it's not a support that everybody can have in their experience, was the fact that I was part of this big company, of this big reality that would kind of allow me to lean into this world. But pretty much I had no role model to look up to. I had no idea what I was doing. And I felt that all these men were great, but where were the women? Like something was missing, right? So that's where I just, instead of giving up, which is something I thought multiple times, I decided to just keep going. And I just did what I knew best. So I just tried to be myself. And the amount of criticism that I got, especially at the very beginning, I usually still now, I guess, I hope I look younger than I actually am. And at that time, I was looking really, really, really young. Like you could give me probably 16 years old or something. And I was doing these videos on SEO on YouTube, trying to blog around this topic, and nobody would take me seriously. But at some point, they had to go beyond the cover, and they realized that the value that I was giving and the amount of care that I was putting into every single person who would follow that blog, who would email me, who would ask me anything, was so big that it was worth sticking around and see what I was up to. Of course, this is something I realized afterwards. It wasn't something I realized while I was doing it.
Okay. I get it. It seems me that the BIDS Academy is based on the strong sense of community. Can you explain more details about the business idea?
Absolutely.
The revenue model of BIDS Academy.
Yeah. So the revenue model is easily explained with one word: membership, which is also one of the online business models that are very popular lately. We started experimenting with memberships in 2016 already, when it wasn't that common. And so I had the opportunity to really deeply study this business model, and then eventually apply to my projects like BIDS Academy. So the cool thing about the membership, which deeply connects to the idea of community, is that your experience doesn't end with the purchase. Usually when you buy a course, a service, or anything that is kind of pre-made for you, a product, you buy, and then the seller's job is over. I mean, sale has been made. Awesome. Let's celebrate. That's pretty much it. But with the subscription, the service provider's job or the seller's job starts after the purchase, because the whole point of a subscription is the experience that you actually provide to this community of people. Because a community, the element of community is not compulsory for a subscription. If you think about Spotify, for example, if you think about Netflix, they don't need communities. But we're talking about giants, of course. And also we're talking about someone that is providing a very specific type of product, of service. But if you are supporting a specific niche, like I do support women in business, womenpreneurs who want to grow their business without feeling lonely and confused. And if you help these people overcome a specific obstacle and a specific challenge, and you do this through a subscription, it's not compulsory, but it's definitely advisable to have a strong community, because it's easy to create one if, of course, you play your cards right, meaning if you really keep your promises, if you over-deliver, and this community will become your biggest promoter. Right now, BITS Academy we barely run advertising because we don't need to, because the word of mouth is good enough for the academy to grow. So the Elementor community is very, very powerful. And not only if you do a subscription, but especially if you do a subscription. So I'll give you some examples of what being part of such a strong community means, because community is great, but then if you don't run it correctly, it may become like a ghost town, which is a really bad business card, because people enter the community and it's like, it's just full of cricket singing, but there is no exchange, there is nothing useful to them. You always want to support through the community the transformation that your ideal clients, your prospects are seeking. So in BITS Academy, the transformation that most women come for is not like just growing the business, is to find a sisterhood, a place like a safe place where they can actually grow their business safely without being judged for their questions, without being judged because they're confused, without being judged if sometimes they feel like they want to throw everything out of the window and start over, where they can celebrate their successes without being envied by other women. Envy is something that, unfortunately, it's quite common between women in business, successful women in business. I don't know why, but it is what it is. And so I would say there is no secret sauce, but the fact that most people join BITS Academy for the content and then they never leave because of the community, because they don't want to go back to a stage where there is no support, and they need support and they want that support, because you can do a lot of things alone, but together you become way stronger.
Okay.
I hope I answered the question.
Thanks, Cecilia. Just curious, a few days ago, I saw on Facebook a DV announcement of BITS Academy that said, do you often find yourself having to sacrifice your free time while working seamlessly because you don't know how to manage it all? Well, I have just published a scientific paper on the difficulties that women faced during the lockdown of COVID-19 emergency, especially the self-employed women. Female entrepreneurs and self-employees had to manage and compartmentalize various aspects of their lives without giving up. Have you found evidences of similar experiences in your tribe?
Yes, especially at the very beginning, so the part of the tribe that just joined, because what happens is that many of these entrepreneurs, femalepreneurs, they join because they want to automate the acquisition of their new customers. They want to automate some part, at least, of their business. I don't think there is a business that is 100% automatable and then you just go and sip, some coke at the beach or whatever. But at the same time, there is a business model that, thanks to the digital tools, allows you to create some sort of passive income, which doesn't mean, and I think this is quite often misunderstood, the way it's presented, doesn't mean that you just earn money without doing nothing. But it means that you can try and figure out some sort of, I don't want to even call it, like for lack of better term, balance, work-life balance. Even though now it's a cliche, everyone talks about it and it seems unattainable, unreachable. But for me, working online was the key to travel when I wanted to travel, way before COVID, of course, and was the key to raise my family and my kid when I had one, instead of always feeling guilty about, not devoting my time to business or not devoting my time to family. Because I do feel that a lot of women eventually end up making a choice, compromising one aspect or the other. And I do think that in some situations it's really hard, maybe it's inevitable to compromise, but if you decide to digitalize your company, and your company is digitalizable because of course every scenario is different, then I do believe that you can live the best of the two worlds without sense of guilt, which is one of my primary missions. I can't stand the idea that women just have to choose. I can't. It's frustrating.
Okay. It's very interesting. I understand that your tribe, your internet community is very large, and I think that it's the key value of you for you. Are there some particular strategies to keep it engaged?
Absolutely. So, there are many, but more than a strategy is the level of care that you have towards your people, whether it's prospects, so people who haven't bought from you yet, or clients, so people who actually bought from you already. And of course, your clients are probably more important from a financial standpoint, because these are people that already decided to trust you. But if we talk about digital branding as an overall, then the level of care is what's going to make the biggest difference. Meaning, do you actually, let's pick a very basic example, which goes beyond the exclusive community of BITS Academy. Do you actually interact with your followers on social media? A lot of people are obsessed with this idea that they need more followers, which is great, awesome. It's a great vanity metric, but do you know how to actually build rapport and trust? Which doesn't only mean to answer the comments, doesn't only mean to post every day. It means to actually know who you're talking to, knowing what's that person biggest desire, what's the person biggest fear, what are the obstacles that they're trying to overcome, and how can you give all you've got to help them overcome that. Of course, if you're sharing free content, you can go super in depth with everything, because everybody works for a living, right? But still, based on the context, you want to give it all you've got. So that's the secret sauce to the engagement of my community, the exclusive community of BITS Academy. I'm there every single day. And I don't want to lie saying that it doesn't feel like work, because when you work on your passion, you never work a day in your life. I just think that's overrated. It is hard work. You have to put in the time. But for sure, if you do what you're passionate about, then it's definitely going to feel exciting to jump out of bed every day and get started. But I am there every day for them. I'm there for feedback. I'm there for brainstorming. Nobody, that's our motto, nobody is left behind when you're part of the membership of BITS Academy.
Okay. During this period, many women experienced teleworking for the first time. Remote work for us has plus and minus, and a very important issue is the lack of non-verbal communication and rituals between coworkers.
Yeah.
In my scientific research, some of the women interviewed said that the days in front of a screen always seemed the same. What does this mean for an entrepreneur? How to involve the employees? Can you explain more? What kind of advice are you being asked? You answer them?
We could talk for days about this. I love this topic, by the way, because I was lucky enough to start running my remote team in 2016. 2016 was a big year for me, it looks like, because it keeps coming out. But I started running my remote team. I mean, we were working from an office, and then we started doing this 100% smart working experiment, and it was a big challenge. So it took us some time to adjust, and it wasn't like something we did it right away. So when due to this pandemic, a lot of companies embraced the smart working model without any preparation, there was definitely there were definitely a lot of communication breakdowns and a lot of issues that could have been prevented and avoided with some sort of preparation before. It wasn't possible, but it's still possible, which is the good news, to adjust on the way, like while you're running. So one thing that I definitely think it's powerful when you work remotely, whether you are leading, well, this is mainly if you're leading a team, a remote team, is what I call the trust chart. And I think I imagine this trust chart like a diagram where you have two variables. One variable is simplified communication, and the other variables is simplified results assessment. So simplified communication means that whatever it is that you use to communicate among your team, and this is something very useful also if you are part of a remote team, even if you're not leading it, is you want to be always concise, but you want to repeat it to exhaustions, all the details that the other person needs to hear in order to be able to reply to you properly. So I'll give you an example because it's more complicated to explain than to actually share it with an example. So let's say, for example, there is a conversation going on Slack or Microsoft Teams, whatever it is, the software that you use for communications. And then all of a sudden the chat takes a turn and we start talking about something else. And then a person keeps going within the same chat, bringing back the topic of before without linking the documents that, linking again the documents that were related to that topic, without linking again any web page that was related to that topic, any data that was related to that topic. So all of a sudden, and this sounds like it's so trivial and so stupid in a way and so small, but it makes people waste so much time. So the person that needs to reply will have to scroll up and try and search what was the point of the conversation, where was it left? It's all the details that they need to actually give a proper answer right away. So that's what I mean by with repetition by exhaustion. So every time you're asking someone remotely about something, make sure you provide all the elements that someone needs, even though you already talked about it on the phone, even if you already talked about it 2 weeks ago in some other chat, you always want to reiterate. And then you want to keep it simple. So this is an exercise that I think is powerful to try, whether you are leading a team again or you are simply interacting with your teammates. Try and once you have written your message, this is especially true for written communication, try and see if you can remove a couple of words or at least one word from every line. Can you make it shorter, simpler, more effective? This is actually very powerful because it will make you realize if you're actually adding stuff that it's absolutely not relevant. Maybe you're feeling emotional about something, and so you're trying to express it with words and you're making it longer, unnecessarily complicated. I mean, use emojis if you want to convey emotions, but don't use unnecessary words. And I think these are as simple as powerful tips to actually improve communication. And then there is the simplified results assessment. So when your team is remote, you can't measure performance based on the amount of hours that everybody spends in front of a computer.
Yeah.
You have to spend to assess the results based on to assess the performance based on results. And you can assess results only when you have specific KPIs, key performance indicators, that you're actually looking at. And so every team member should have, and I know this is something that it's in every business book, but then you have no idea how many times I talk to business owners that don't have KPIs. You know, they know about them, but they don't set it for their team's members and for themselves. So once you have your KPIs, it doesn't matter if the person on the other side of the screen is actually taking some time off today because, I don't know, she needs to go to the park with her family. If she has completed the task and reached the KPIs, who cares? So it's a mindset shift. It's a whole new type of perspective that a business owner needs to embrace. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very hard to work remotely.
Yeah, I agree. The issue of KPI. Very interesting. Just another curious. What about what do you think about the personal branding, specifically for a female entrepreneur, in your experience?
I think it's personal branding is no gender bias in this scenario, especially online. I think that we need to keep in mind that I don't know if it was Jeff Bezos or someone that big, but someone said at some point that branding is what people tell us about you when you're not in the same room. And I think this is kind of sums it up because we think that branding is logo or fonts that we use or colors or the way we present ourselves if we are in a physical environment. But really, it's way deeper than that. It's online, especially. Every time you publish a piece of content, whether it's a blog post, whether it's your Instagram bio, whether it's an online memo, whatever it is that you're putting out there, you are creating a brand. One other important element that we need to remember is that the best currency to create a strong online brand, whether you are a man or a woman online, is content. So when you start creating and sharing valuable content, which ties back to what we were talking about before, the amount of how much you're actually giving to your people without fear of running out of ideas, without fear of giving too much. There is no such thing as giving too much when you're building your online brand. You can select what to give, of course, strategically, but you don't want to. You always want to create this bridge between what I call the three phases that every online buyer go through, every online user go through whenever they discover your brand. So first, they go through the first phase, which is discovery. How do they discover you? Through content. Second phase is, let's call it warm up or engagement. So they start engaging with that content. So it's always content that they engage with and they warm up with. And then they choose you, right? How do they choose you? Why do they choose you? Because of content. It doesn't matter if you're selling information or you're selling a product. Before the action of buying, right, there is consumption of content, whether it's a sales page, a product page, whether it's an Instagram post, whether it's a YouTube video, whatever it is. You are kind of, you lean into that brand through all of these steps. And these steps are not linear, meaning it's not just discovery and then engagement and then choice. It's, well, discovery happens only once, of course, but then engagement or warming up and choice keep mixing up. So I choose a brand, I buy something from a brand, but then I don't stop following that brand on social media or on their website or through the newsletters. I keep consuming that content and warming up. And then I choose them again if I am satisfied with my first purchase. And then I start talking about them. So again, the strongest currency, that's my take, the strongest currency when it comes to online branding nowadays for males and females is content, really, really powerful, valuable content.
Okay, thanks a lot, Cecilia, for your case history. Are there any question or comment for her? Yep. The first, do you think that there is a difference between a female leadership style and a male one, or in their way to guide a business, or in their way to become entrepreneur?
I think that, yeah, that's an awesome question. So thank you for asking. I do feel that it's not always the case because there are different personalities in women and different personalities in men. But I do feel that us as women tend to have some qualities that sometimes men are lacking. More empathy. And again, not always. I don't want to be like, this is not a formula, but it's kind of considered part of the cliche that women are more caring, they are more sensitive, they are more empathic, or whatever. And a lot of women think this is these are weaknesses. And I also thought they were weaknesses for so long. But honestly, whatever I've built through these qualities. I've never been a gorilla, like someone that has to be vocal about what she wants to say and do, someone that is, giving orders or whatever. I mean, and I'm not saying that men do that, but I'm just saying that sometimes women think that they need to become that type of leader in order to kind of come across strong. I honestly think I came across strong thanks to my hard work, but I would also say that it was a combination of hard and smart work, because of course, working a lot towards something that it's not strategic doesn't make any sense. But identifying what's strategic and then work just a little towards that, it's not enough either. So you have to work smart and hard at the same time and find that balance. So I do believe there is a difference, and I do believe that difference can become a great advantage for women.
Okay, there is another question. The second question is, do you have any special suggestion for someone who is currently studying communication and have an idea to start a digital startup? Where do I start?
That's a great question. Of course, it's hard to answer without a context, but I would say that the first step would be to really know your market very, very deeply. And I know this, again, sounds very basic. Everybody says that. But I think what very few people say is that knowing your market means to really understand who you're going to serve. We talked about before, right before in our talk, we talked about the importance of knowing the desires and the deepest fears of your audience, which are all the core principles of copywriting, for example, persuasive writing. But persuasion to me has nothing to do with it. It's all about talking to that specific problem and transformation that your customer, your ideal customer, want to achieve. So we think that with whatever startup we create, we are actually selling a product or a service, but we're actually selling transformation, meaning a transformation from point A, wherever I am when I am about to buy something and I'm searching for options, and point B. And one thing that I will tell you is that these cues about this transformation can be found even in your, for example, in the emails that you get, in the messages that you get, for example, on social media. So lots of time we just miss those. And sometimes also what we do is we delegate that job. It's like, oh, I don't want to do support. Now, I'll tell you, I started my career as a customer support agent. It wasn't funny. It wasn't fun. Sorry. Also because usually people don't write to support I mean, sometimes they do, but lots of time they write to support because they have issues, right? But those emails, those messages, whatever they tell you, even if they criticize you, they have inside, they are a golden mine, because they will reveal you, they will reveal to you the language that your ideal customer is using and the frustrations that they're going through. Now, that is the transformation they want to achieve. I mean, I'm trying to simplify a lot, and probably, I don't know if that's super clear, but I would start from there. What is the transformation? How do I convey the transformation? How do I actually meet my ideal customer in the 3 phases that we talked about before: discovery, warm up, and then choice? How do I make sure that I meet this customer in these 3 phases? And I help him or her lean into this transformation that she's seeking.
Yeah, get it. Another question, based on your experience, which do you think will be the future of digital communication? Do you see any specific trends for the following years in digitalization?
That's a good question. I would say that there are so many rumors about what may happen and what artificial intelligence will do, and how we're gonna probably have robots cooking for us and do, I don't know, like do anything for us. But I will stick to my area of expertise. So I do believe that in terms of growing an online business, the trends that are not going to die very soon, even though everybody says that they will, are blogging, which is very much underestimated, underrated. Lots of people think, lots of millennials think it's stuff for old people, like who blogs these days. But if you think about the power of search engine optimization, which is not going to fade out very soon, so it's going to be a trend, if we can call it that way, for a long time. And recently, Google released a new update, a very important update, which wiped out a lot of websites because they were not compliant to those core web vitals that Google consider very important. So blogging, and then newsletters and funnels. Again, like there is so much rumor about how in the online space these are going to be dead soon because of social media and stuff. But I don't think they are for the next at least 10 years. I don't know what's going to happen next. But I can tell you for sure that they are working pretty strong right now for our business. They had for a long time. And I don't see them fade out very, very quickly or fast. So I hope in a way I responded to the question through my personal experience. You know, I can do assumptions, but I don't want to.
I agree with you. There isn't any questions. Do you want to add something else?
No, I think we talked about a lot. I really enjoyed it. If you guys want to follow me, you can find me on Instagram with my full name that you see here on the video. And I will be happy to keep chatting there.
Okay. We can conclude. Thanks again to Cecilia and Biz Academy, and see you and the next talk. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, Elisabetta.
Bye.
Bye.